Welcome everyone to this episode of Yankee and the Brit. Today we're going to be talking about cancel culture.
So this one, not as fun as our last couple. It's really easy to get caught up in this one in terms of politics and things of the sort. So I'm going to go ahead and start it off and just give a brief description on what cancel culture actually is. It just describes a form of boycott. Boycotting is something that we've done for a long time already. I feel like we just take it to the extreme with cancel culture. The called out person is also thrust out of social or professional circles on social media or the real world, sometimes both. And that's when they are said to be canceled. So I wanted to start it off with kind of a question that has multiple answers or explanations to it. So cancel culture, do you think it's a force for good, or is it a threat to our American First Amendment, which is the freedom of speech?
I think it's one of those things where it falls into a gray area and it can go either way, because it has it's got its benefits in that you can take down some real monsters and some real horrible people. Now, the first point I want to make on this is I think people don't need to be perfect in their real lives. You know, to be a really good professional, to be a great actor, to be talented, to be a celebrity. No one's perfect. Absolutely no one. You know, we seem to think that they're going to be squeaky clean. But we all say stupid shit. We all make mistakes. The problem is that these people that are in the spotlight or people that are high powered, we put them on this pedestal because they got some kind of talent or some kind of set of skills that sets them apart from the general populace.
Yeah, so they have that platform that
they have that
most people don't have.
Yeah, and there's an idolizing side to it, or perception that in some way they're better than us or higher than us, and we want them to be perfect, but they're not. No one is perfect. They're just humans, and their experience is something that the vast majority, well, no humans in any human history has ever experienced before, and that is the exposure level. We're not evolved to, to be able to deal with this kind of pressure on us, and every single aspect of our lives and our mentality is not supposed to be drawn out for the entire world to see.
Yeah, and as being an outspoken person myself, and being your friend for the amount of years that I have been, I know you are as well. We've we've had some interesting back and forths with people, mostly on the internet. It's just a fun place to do it. So yeah, nobody's perfect. I know I've said some stupid shit that I regret.
Absolutely.
Everybody.
I think the key question is, and it's what I think it all boils down to, is for something to be offensive, is it about the content of what you say, or is it about the intent of what you say?
So one would think it would be about the intention. Are you intentionally trying to hurt someone?
Absolutely.
But people still get canceled just for stating facts. That was another thing I had. I kind of had written down here is anyone really immune from it? Like, what amount of money does it take for you to be, I guess you could say, safe? Because there's plenty of A-list celebrities that have been canceled for things that they've said. But if you want to go political with it, there's someone like a Donald Trump who mocked a disabled man, has made bigot remarks, racist remarks, and he's idolized.
I think I don't think it is just about demographic. I think it all comes down to a public perception of who you are. So if you're a man like Donald Trump, your public perception is a guy who will say anything and do anything. From the get-go, you're already this man of, I don't give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say something like that, it's expected of you. Whereas when you get someone who is supposedly squeaky clean, will give examples soon, and then they come out and say something that seems unexpected for what you have imagined them to be, it then destroys your image of what this perfect person was.
Exactly. So that's how I kind of go along with things. People know that I'm an outspoken person. They kind of expect it of me. I don't pretend to be someone who's not, because if I don't agree with something, I'm going to let them know. And I try to be civil about it, but sometimes I can get emotional, but it's expected. I don't pretend to be this squeaky clean guy like you would say. So when I do say something that's a little outlandish, I guess you can call it, it doesn't draw so much of an attention. It's just more like, well, that's just Yankee being Yankee,
And I mean, there's a lot of things that comedians have said, which if any other person in the media had said, they'd be gone. But because we know that a comedian is making the joke, it's our perception of them. We already know that they don't have the intent. They're just trying to make someone laugh.
Exactly. Like a Dave Chappelle.
Absolutely. I mean, Dave Chappelle, I mean, most of his jokes are racial.
The majority, yeah.
Yeah. that's his thing. That's how he's made a career, and he's hilarious.
Yeah.
Why not? It's fucking great. And
but
that's where it comes down to intent.
And that was one of his points, though, using taking racism away as a weapon and using it for comedy. It kind of disarms. I forgot how he put it, but it would disarm the racist, disarm the person trying to use it to cause harm, and turns it into this thing that everyone can come together about and laugh.
If someone calls you the N-word and you get offensive, that is a weapon they can use to upset you endlessly. If someone calls you the N-word and you laugh about it, that's no longer a weapon.
Yeah.
It's nothing. It's just another word.
Yeah, and I believe that's why I'm as self-deprecating as I am. If someone tries to make fun of me, and I will roast myself worse than anyone else can roast me, and it's no longer fun for them. They just kind of move on. And
no one can roast me as well as I can roast me.
Exactly.
I am an easy target.
Yeah.
And yet they're not good enough.
No one hates me more than me,
Oh, no. I mean, I've got some horrible things to say about myself, and they're all true.
Yeah, I do too. I tell you regularly,
Yeah, you've got loads of horrible things to say about me that are all true as well.
Yeah. Yeah, you fucking crumpet eating bastard. So
lucky I get a crumpet past this nose.
So another issue that you come across with is there's people out there actively trying to cancel people. For example, Kevin Hart was supposed to host, I believe it was the Grammys or the Oscars, and they were giving him grief over something that he had tweeted over 10 years ago. So there's someone that doesn't agree with you. They're going to comb through 10 years worth of tweets and then try to nail you. So that's where, I think that's when just people are taking it way too fucking far.
The issue, the internet is so widespread. Anything anyone says, you said, there's going to be some number of people who don't like it, don't like that you've said it, don't like the content of what you said it, don't like the intent of what you said. So once one of those people starts to push to get you off, others will follow, because there will be a percent, and it could be a very small percentage, but there's always a percentage there. But the power that the internet gives you, and people feel this power when they're sitting and writing at their computer, and they can say something, it can be heard by potentially millions of people. Again, we're not evolved to deal with this level of exposure and this power surge that you feel with your little keyboard warriors and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's also a small percentage of people that are batshit crazy.
Yeah.
And they'll tear you down for anything that offends them or offends them on behalf of someone else. And they'll go find out where you work, find out where you live. They'll try and destroy your family life. They'll try and destroy your job. And the punishment should always fit the crime. It's a staple of all society. It's how we try and keep everything at the right balance. And this mob mentality that an internet movement can give you just goes way too far.
Yeah, it's literally the pen is mightier than the sword. the way they can just take people down. So that's one of the major things. We got people claiming cancel culture is infringing on our First Amendment, the freedom of speech, which for people who aren't aware, for our UK friends out there, the language for our First Amendment, it just this clause affords special protection in certain public places for open speech activities. That includes sidewalks, public ways, and it just makes it hard for the government to tell us what and what not to say. Now, there have been cases where they've gone beyond that, and people have been told to, be quiet, shut up. And what the thing is with with our amendments is a lot of it can be left up to interpretation. And special cases, they can put some regulation on these rights of ours. So I didn't want to go too deep into the politics, but if we're speaking in a political stance, the right wing claims that the left wing uses this a lot to their advantage because, as you could say, like right wing extremists are so much more outspoken when it comes to cases of like immigration. Well, mostly just immigration. That's usually the big one.
The big term that's used is hate speech.
Yeah.
And they've made attempts to try and ban hate speech. But the problem is when you enforce language, that is a form of oppression. That's a form of, silencing people, making it so they can't say certain things is just, it's beyond crazy. It's why loads of people have got in trouble. And the problem, again, what is an offensive joke by a comedian considered hate speech? Do we want to put comedians in prison for making jokes that, again, the intent isn't there?
Yeah.
The content could be offensive to some people. So is it then hate speech? Or is it offense speech? Why do we need to categorize all these versions of speech? And that's where the water gets muddy. Of course, we don't want people. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, we don't want people using language purposefully to upset people. Nobody really wants that. But as soon as you start enforcing something by law, it opens a can of worms.
Yeah.
It becomes dangerous.
Yeah.
There's a case of someone that I mentioned to you, which you hadn't heard of the other day, was Jordan Peterson. That was in Canada. So that was where they tried to enforce pronouns. So he, she, they, z, however many it was at the time. It was 70 plus at the time, I think. And I believe it was Trudeau, because he's a very, very left-wing, progressive sort of guy. He wanted to make it law that if you didn't use their pronoun, then you would suffer a fine. And they were saying, "Oh, it's only a fine," And Jordan Peterson's point was, "Yeah, but what happens if you don't pay the fine? You could go to prison for not using someone's chosen pronoun." And it was like, and that is a step towards, it's tyranny. It's complete tyranny when you can't. When by using a word, you can be thrown in prison. Down the line, you could be thrown in prison.
Yeah,
that's what he stood up against.
Yeah, that's stepping towards the places that don't have, freedom of speech, freedom of speech.
You can't even speak, so how would you know?
I'm running off like 3 hours of sleep. So we're talking about like our North Korea's, place where you say the wrong thing, or Russia, you say the wrong thing and you're done. You say something about Putin, they'll never see you again, you'll never find the body.
And considering America's opinion on Russia and how awful they are, and yet they're going that way.
We love Russia and Putin.
Well, we do, and we love Putin, we love Kim Jong-un, real, whichever generation it is now. Chinese guy, he's great. Big fans of all of you.
So then at what point does Trudeau, like, where's the line before it starts getting there, placing these fines and putting people in jail?
Exactly. And that's where it becomes an issue. And this, in fairness, I believe the article was thrown out, and I'm sure Jordan Peterson was a massive part of that. The thing that was interesting is the amount of hate this man received because of it. I mean, he's a clinical psychologist. He works at a university. So I believe he was made to go on sabbatical from his work. There was people, I believe there was mobs trying to kill him, supposedly trying to kill him. They don't know what would have happened, but mob mentality makes you do all kinds of crazy things.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And what's quite interesting is he ended up becoming a multi-millionaire, and he's selling out arenas because of it, which is good, because the thing is so many people are trying to catch him in being this hateful, horrible person. He's been called a misogynist because most of the stuff that he talks about is more directed at males. It's not specific to males, but it's more directed at male. And his point is, but I am a male. So it's got to be more about male. So that's just the way it is. And if males are identifying it and I'm creating a society with improved males, what's wrong with that? That benefits everyone, especially in this political climate where women at the moment, there's this Me Too culture and all the other things going on about how men don't understand women's level of oppression, walking down the street, catcalling, etc. So if he's improving men and he's talking to men and he's making them better people, it's fantastic, isn't it? And yet they're calling him a misogynist trying to do it.
Yeah, I have a couple of friends that tell me stories of just their day-to-day life and how much it differs from mine.
Absolutely.
The bullshit that they have to deal with. And like, I never thought catcalling would be so much a problem.
No.
I was never one to do it. I was always too shy for that anyway. But
yeah, I never had the incentive. I never thought that it went. What do you think it's going to work? Do you think you make that noise and a girl's going to turn around and go, I love that noise, I must have you?
Yeah, that's what I've always thought too. Like, do you really expect to get a rise out of that? And you know what? I've actually known a couple of women that would respond to that. Yeah. And but we'll just leave it at that. Yeah.
There was an interesting thing that happened to me recently because there was this girl had taken to TikTok, hadn't she, or saw one of those where she was being catcalled and she started barking back at people.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah. Now, I was on a popular dating app, which if they want to sponsor us, go for it, even though I've deleted it now, which I usually do. And there was a girl on there. She put her Instagram profile on there and wrote something like, don't use this much, DM me on Instagram. I went onto Instagram, messaged her, and she sent me back a voice message of her barking at me. Now, the only thing I could figure out, granted I was high as fuck at the time, so I wasn't sure what was going on. I was like, is this really happening, or have I just entered a parallel universe where I'm supposed to talk in dog language?
Yankee and the Brit supports marijuana use.
Happy 420, guys. Missed it, but there you go.
Yeah.
And the only thing I could figure out is that she believed that I was catcalling her by slipping into her DMs, excuse the expression.
Sliding in her DMs, yeah.
But then she was on a dating app. She obviously made herself visible to males, and she put her Instagram on there and said, DM me in there because I don't use the app, and then acted as though I was being inappropriate by doing exactly what she'd said to do.
So is this
either that, or she was just a dog,
or she was really a dog?
One or the other.
You were getting catfished. You were getting catfished.
That seemed it's dogfish, is it?
Dogfish, yeah. I guess
dogfish,
you could say.
Yeah. But that seemed like a double standard to me. It seemed like you were trying to get people to do that so you could do that.
Yeah. So you're going to end up on one of her videos, like, I'm just baiting these men in so they could.
Well, she would pretend she wasn't baiting them in. She'd pretend she wasn't on this dating app and wasn't enticing men to come and talk to her.
Yeah.
And then that they were just slipping into her DM.
And you're just a creep. Yeah.
And you're just
some creep sliding in her DMs. And then
what I was asked to do.
And then you're part of a video.
Yeah.
And
now
we're
she's
going to
on my video.
And we're going to get canceled for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I am a misogynistic and I should be canceled for it.
Oh, yeah.
For doing what a woman asked me to do.
Yeah. Oh, you are going to learn that if you ever get married, you are going to get yelled at for doing what you were asked to do. Get used to it, bud. It's going to happen.
I'm just going to turn gay, I think.
Well, I have offered to marry you so you can come to the States, and
Yeah, I know, but that doesn't work anymore. That's such a shame.
they're onto us.
They've got rid of that loophole.
They have.
Yeah. I'm just going to have to slip across the border like your ancestors did.
my Polish ones, because they came by boat, buddy.
Oh, they didn't. Well, I still counts as crossing a border.
Oh, I know too many people that have actually done that.
Yeah, I got to be very careful because I haven't done my ancestry yet, so I'm not sure who I'm allowed to offend.
Yeah. Oh, I know who I can offend.
Yeah, I need to get a list. I need to do my ancestry, so I've got a list ready.
Yeah. We can't get canceled just yet. We just started.
Well, just hold off on cancelling us until I found out whether or not I've got to apologize for that remark.
You don't. I gave you permission.
I'm fairly sure that I'm descendant from Romanian gypsies, so.
Oh, you're a gypsy?
I believe so, yeah.
So you're gonna rent an RV and then just like be a vagabond and travel around?
You're thinking of American high-class gypsies. No. I'm descendant from horse-drawn carriage sort of gypsies.
Is there a such thing as a high-class gypsy?
If they got an RV, there is. RVs are expensive.
That's the standard. Okay. That's the standard.
Oh no, no, I'm not going to say that because I don't know if I am one yet. Next time, if I find out I am one, then I'll say what I was about to say.
Yeah, you need to spit in that cup and send it off to 23andMe or whatever it is. 23andMe.
They're expensive. They're like $120, $150 or something like that to do those.
I have no idea. I've never done it. Ancestry.com maybe.
Yeah, I think you have to pay a subscription to that. Why would I want to subscribe?
That's how they get you.
I'm completely anti all of that stuff. I don't believe in nationalism. I don't believe that just because I'm descendant from someone that has any relevance to me whatsoever. I just don't believe any of that. I'm me. I happen to be here. That's just where I am. And the fact that my family used to live there, it means nothing to me. It doesn't change my life.
Yeah, it was beat into me when I was young. I was raised as a Mexican American through their culture and their beliefs and all that stuff, which is great. But I was also taught of my Polish heritage, which here means I'm dumb. And
yeah, and here means hardworking.
Yeah. And I'm a little bit of both. I'm kind of dumb, but I do work hard. I do work really hard.
Yeah. Well, I suppose generally we consider they do the labor jobs, and they do them far, far, far better than us.
Well, so do the Mexicans too. So that's like,
yeah,
like double
so
the labor.
You've got it both ways.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that guy though.
See, I'm white, and I'm obviously I've got white privilege, which is probably why I'm lazy as fuck.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I wouldn't know about that. I get followed around in convenience stores
to make sure you're not stealing stuff, or
because I'm brown.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I just get followed around because I'm just. Who wouldn't?
Well, obviously. Who doesn't want to take a shot at the Brit,
I actually did get followed around.
I tried to marry you,
I actually did get followed around a school the other day. I was at college, and part-time I do college, by the way. I'm not a full-time college student. I'm not that clever.
Do you call it college or uni?
No, it's uni level course, but it's at a college. Okay. But anyway, there's a store right next to it. Of course, the college that I go to has people ranging from the age of 16 up to whatever age, as obviously I'm an adult learner. And they follow you around the store to make sure you're not stealing stuff. So I was so close to just throwing it back in his face and going, just leave, who do you think I am? I'm not one of these 16-year-old kids who thinks it's funny to steal a chocolate bar.
I know.
I'm in here buying like a sandwich and some milk so I can make up a tea later. I'm doing my weekly shop here.
Yeah, I got followed around a convenience store one time.
I'm not stealing trading cards.
This was a long time ago. I think I was looking at condoms too, which made it even better. So I'm just looking at condoms and I'm like, which ones can I do the most damage with, you know? And this guy, I notice he just keeps like inching toward me and he's just like looking at the corner. And I kind of look at him and he's like, can I help you? And I was like, do you want to watch me try him on? Like, I was like, no, I'm good, man. Thank you. And he's just like, okay.
Do you have the XXL version?
Yeah. Do you have the magnums? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not going to need those.
No. Yeah, that's nice. I'm going to put each one of those on my feet to where I'm going. It's dirty on the floor where I'm going.
Yeah, I lost my water socks.
I'll have the extra mediums, please.
Extra medium. Yes.
Extra medium.
Great. So while we're going to the end here, I have a couple of notable cancellations here.
Yeah.
And I guess we can see if they were really worthy of being canceled. So I have one from Jimmy Fallon, who more recently than not got canceled for an SNL sketch in the year 2000. He did an impression of Chris Rock, but he did it in blackface. And Chris Rock has addressed this and said he had no problems with it, that it was funny as hell. Jimmy's his guy. But back then, I don't want to say back then blackface wasn't an issue, because of course back then it did offend people.
Again, this all comes down to the intent issue. Is obviously he was trying to impersonate someone that he respected, someone that he was a fan of, someone that was his friend, someone that, as he said, he was his guy.
Yeah.
So that comes into the content was offensive, but the intent was not. So then, is there just a different level of severity? Is that what the thing is?
Yeah, you would think so.
Because I mean, there's been episodes of Scrubs taken down where Turk has white face and JD has black face.
Yeah.
It was Turk's idea, and they were going to. He said, "Oh, you with me? They'll love it." But he came to the door, "What's up?" And of course, that was taken down that episode. And
yeah.
Like, there's no offense intended there.
And
I couldn't imagine anyone actually being offended by that. Perhaps there was.
Yeah.
But it was more of one of those sort of things. Well, this incident has been cancelled, so we're going to have to make sure that none of ours could be misconstrued in the same way.
Exactly. It was done proactively by the showrunner, Bill. He saw that it was an issue in other circles, and he decided to take him down himself. And I think Zach even addressed that. He said while he was doing the sketch, he did not feel comfortable. And there was a time when they were doing rehearsals and he was in blackface, and there was a bunch of black men and women at this house party in the scene that he was in that were just kind of giving him the side eye and giving him these looks like they really didn't appreciate what was going on at the time.
It's one of those things, if that sketch had been written by a black person, they might not have felt that way. Yeah. But then if you get a white person writing that scene and you've got black people on set, then they might think, hang on a minute, is there some intent behind it? And that's the thing you can never know. Now, I don't want to go into this particularly, but the whole Derek Chauvin situation, it's one of those things. Certain people believe that was a racially motivated attack. There's no evidence necessarily to say that it was racially motivated, which is why he hasn't been done on racial lines, because there's no specific evidence saying this is racially motivated. So again, it's one of those things where it comes down to intent. Again, I think he probably didn't intend on killing a guy, but his actions were facilitated killing someone because he was doing something which could have led to killing someone, which he shouldn't have done, which is why he was done for manslaughter. So
it was manslaughter and second-degree murder.
Yeah.
So the difference with that is manslaughter is usually accidental.
Yeah.
Here anyway, second degree is heat of the moment.
Yeah, which you can see why that was both of those things, because again, there was no evidence. It might have been, but there was no evidence to say it was racially motivated. There was no evidence that he wanted to kill him or that it was premeditated.
Yeah.
But the evidence that was clear is that the man had, again, we all know the answer. We don't really need to go into this, but the man was completely incapacitated. He was no threat to him, and yet he was doing something which clearly could lead to his death. So it was obvious. Those two things were obvious. Anything further than that, though, is conjecture, which leads into the same sort of thing that we're talking about now, where intent is the crucial part of some of this stuff to take it to the next level. So is content this level and then intent full level, or can content sometimes just not be anything? It's hard to know, isn't it?
Yeah, especially with hot button issues like that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that was Fallon, and he actually addressed it as well. He thanked everyone for canceling him, said that he deserved it, which was big of him, I guess. It
is, or it could just be trying to avoid anything further, but
trying to own up. Yeah. Okay, so then next I have J.K. Rowling, the author of all the Harry Potter books. She went on a Twitter rant said to be transphobic.
Yes. I believe, I don't know the whole story on this. I've actually not looked into it, but I believe her concern was over toilets.
It was the bathrooms, yeah.
It was the bath where she was concerned that what stage of transitioning or what level of strength, or someone perhaps even using the guise of being transgender to get into female bathrooms. That was what she was concerned about, which is an understandable concern, realistically, because if someone were to misuse that situation, there is always someone who will find a loophole in that situation.
Yes.
And it's not against trans people, it's against potential rapists using the trans laws to their advantage.
Yeah, that also, I feel, applies to the sporting world.
Yes.
We have grown-ass men, 6'3", 260 pounds of muscle, identifying as a woman, which to each their own. But when it comes to competitive sports, they're going out and just killing people in a women's league.
Is, a woman is not allowed to take testosterone and compete. That is a performance-enhancing drug, which she would be kicked out for.
Which males have naturally.
This person who's identifying a woman, who's transitioned to a woman, is a woman, if you're going to use that term specifically, is a woman, but they have been on testosterone for their entire life up to the point where they transitioned. And one of the arguments is this idea of, but now they're taking estrogen. But estrogen naturally helps you maintain muscle mass. So they've been on testosterone. Whether they do, I don't know, do they do something to reduce the amount of testosterone your body produces? I don't know. Or does the estrogen counteract the testosterone production? I don't know. But either way, taking the estrogen maintains the muscle mass that you've gained from having testosterone within your system.
Your entire life,
Your entire life. So you have a massive advantage.
Yes.
Which a woman born to that sex of female has never been able to have and is not allowed to have to compete. So it's a completely unfair thing. I don't know what the answer is to that, though.
Yeah, it's...
You don't want to have a trans league, do you?
Well, that's not up to me.
Or do you? I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is.
See, well, if you do that, they can be considered as like... I guess there's the pros and cons. You want to do that? They have a league.
Could be considered transphobic. That could be.
Yeah, they could be considered segregating them off. Like, you don't belong here. Have your own league, or it could be you have a league of your own.
Yeah.
Identify what you want.
But then women and men are separated in sports for obvious reasons.
Exactly. There's just certain, like, professional football.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but women, these guys are they're actual monsters. They're
A woman cannot be 360 pounds and be that physically powerful and athletic.
just being that size is incredibly rare.
It's incredibly rare to be that size, and pretty much aren't any women that are. But to be that size and that athletic, these men are not, they're not fat. They are
No.
360 pounds of pure muscle. They will go through anything. They could probably run at a brick wall and the brick wall would crumble before they
Yeah, before they get to it.
These are the brick wall would turn and run.
Yeah. Yeah.
These are freaks. And this comes into what Joe Rogan has said on one of his specials, is women should not be allowed to compete against men, because men should not be allowed to compete against men, because there's men and then there's men.
Yeah.
And they are different. Because
Yes.
I am not going to go up against one of those football players.
So what about a sport that has weight classes? Like, in my opinion, combat sports,
Yeah,
I believe women can hold their own against a man if it's their same size, weight class.
There's
Now,
absolutely been situations where that has happened.
yeah, and that just comes down to your ability and your talent. And I believe the women can hold a candle big time.
That is, I believe it's right, but the most important thing is, because there was a situation where a trans woman was competing in the female division, as we said about before, more powerful because the testosterone level is higher for her, and she had not declared that she used to be a man. So she was fighting women when she was a trans woman, and it looked like a man beating the shit out of a woman. That's what the fights looked like.
Yeah.
And because she hadn't declared it, there was people that were willing to fight her. There were other women that were willing to fight her, but because she hadn't declared it, she was taking on people who didn't realize they were effectively going into a fight with someone who had the physicality of a man.
Yeah.
And she was beating the shit out of them.
Yeah.
It was horrible. It was horrible. So the most important thing is if a woman is willing to fight someone in that situation, as long as everyone's happy, everyone knows what's going on, full disclosure, go ahead. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as everything is known, everything's out on the table.
Full disclosure. Yeah.
Full disclosure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because there's been women. Amanda Nunes, she would beat up 99.99999% of males. 100%.
99% of the women that compete in combat sports would probably break me.
Oh, yeah. But Amanda Nunes she's just so talented.
Yeah.
Her skill level beats out physicality because she's so skilled as well.
Yeah, and
that's
that goes
what
back.
I think.
There's
it goes for a lot of them.
yeah. They're talking about the Ronda Rouseys, the old school. We got Gina Carano, who was also been mentioned in cancel culture.
Yes, and let's talk about Gina Carano.
Let's talk about Gina.
So, what she said on Twitter, she didn't get kicked off the show. They just didn't continue her contract for another series of episodes. Her contract had already ran out.
Yeah, you can't upset the mouse. Disney will not fall for it.
No, they don't. Johnny Depp knows that.
Yeah.
The thing that's tricky about that is because what she said was factually true. The Nazi regime did make steady incremental changes which created a culture of extreme hatred towards Jewish people. The attitude that was instilled was basically, look how much they have and look how little you have. So even a pretty strong-minded person can fall for that. And there's clear cases that are going on right now which prove that, because we see it in parts of society, like as we said about Polish people and Mexican people, they're stealing our jobs.
Yeah.
As South Park likes to point out.
They're taking our jobs.
They're taking their jobs. And then you've got the Chinese virus, which at the moment has created a huge amount of Asian hate. It's not some American Asian person's fault that the coronavirus is here. And yet people are attacking them in the streets. So it's this thing is happening now that happened in Nazi Germany. I'm not saying to the same extent. There's no genocide that I know of.
Yeah.
But this sort of manipulation of hatred that happened towards Jewish people, their neighbors attacking them, which is what's happening with Asian people now. It's people in the street. This isn't the government attacking them.
Yeah.
Although Donald Trump was technically government and did call it the Chinese virus or whatever he called it.
He called it Kung Flu.
Kung Flu. There you go. So he was one of the people who pushed for this level of hatred in the way that Hitler called Jewish people. The males had to be called, or the females had to be called Sarah Jew, and the males had to be called Israel Jew, I believe. And they had to wear Star of David's on their arms. They had to have it in their stores, in the front window. So everybody knew who the Jewish people were. And then he told everybody that Jewish people are the reason that you're poor. They've stolen all your money. That's the kind of thing that happened in Nazi Germany. So what she said was actually true. And this was after a period of hyperinflation, which happened. He just pulled them out of rampant poverty because hyperinflation happened. And basically, if you want to go and buy a loaf of bread, there were people taking wheelbarrows mounded with money to go and get a piece of bread. They'd turn around, pick up their piece of bread, turn back round, money was on the floor, someone had stolen a wheelbarrow because the money was worthless. But the
wheelbarrow had worth.
These people's children were starving, they were starving, they couldn't even buy a loaf of bread. And this guy had come along, this very charismatic guy, and he won the Nobel Peace Prize. Remember, in 1937, 1938, he won the Nobel Peace Prize for his work at getting them out of this level of depression. But he comes along and says, it's that Jewish person's fault. They're the reason. And that facilitated that level of anger. The problem that she made is she likened this to the way that right-wing people are being treated in American society at the moment. That's what I think was the reason that people got so angry. Because she was trying to make out that left-wing people were like civilians in Nazi Germany who had been manipulated by the Nazi regime.
Or if we're just being real here, people could have just seen the word Nazi and triggered. And that's all it takes nowadays.
You don't learn a lot of Nazi history, do you, in schools? You learn mostly civil wars, American Civil War.
No, World War II and all the Holocaust and all that was a pretty big part of.
All right. Okay.
I don't remember what grade it was.
Mostly civil, because pretty much all of my historical education was about the First and Second World War throughout my entire school, at least secondary school anyway. So, and I did it at A level as well. So 7 years.
Yeah, we
Germany.
We, of course, we touched on like Civil War, slavery. Then of course, we learned about when we separated from you bastards in the Revolution. Or was that Vietnam?
I'm glad you did.
And then we had a lot. We delved pretty deep into World War II and the Holocaust and and things of the sort.
Because I've spoken to people before, and they've basically said they didn't really know anything about it.
It must be the difference
people
in school. Then they either didn't listen, the difference in school, the content, because I don't know if the instructor has control over. I know they have to follow a lesson plan.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they have control over how deep they delve into each subject.
Yeah.
If they're gonna, go heavy on one and go lighter on another.
Yeah. I think the situation for her is that I don't know. Again, this is all about intent. I don't know whether what she was saying was meant to be perceived in that way. I personally think what she was saying is this is how it can go. You know, it's not a government oppressing someone. It's them convincing people that they should hate you. And I think there is an element of that in the Republican, in the against people who call themselves Republican now, especially with like your gun rights, the amount of people that hate people who like guns.
Yeah.
You know, that there is an element of that in the media, which makes you think it is almost admitting you're Republican is almost can be considered shameful for some people. But again, all of this to me personally, it comes down to this collectivism thing. So if you liken yourself, like, I'm this race, I'm this nationality, I have this political standpoint. I personally think collectivism is the enemy. Like when I say that I'm not nationalist and I don't think about my heritage and stuff like that,
It's because you're a horrible person.
I am a horrible person and I don't know my culture and I should learn my culture. But it's because I don't believe in this idea of collectivism. I don't believe the fact that I was born on this single piece of soil has any bearing on who I am or what I think or what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you think about racism, that's all built on this idea of collectivism. It's because there's obviously different levels of racism, but certain people that I know, they're a level of racism where they're not necessarily actively against black people. They just think that black people behave in a certain way because they're black. That's a type of racism that's collectivism. It's not necessarily as extreme as saying I have any hatred towards these people. It's just they like fried chicken. That's a very common one, isn't it, that you hear?
Yes.
And that's a form of collectivism. Who the hell doesn't like fried chicken? I don't care what nationality you are. I love fried chicken.
Yeah, that shit's
That's
amazing.
my favorite shit.
No, yeah, I get you.
You've got to think about people as individuals. And I think that's something partly what Gina was alluding to, perhaps maybe not in that depth, but in this idea of you shouldn't be against someone if they say they're Republican. Because a Republican standpoint is effectively what in the UK is a conservative standpoint, this idea of low taxes, trickle down economy, successful business people, trickle them all down to the lower class. Everyone has a good level of living. The kind of Ronald Reagan, which was considered a very, very successful time in American history, Ronald Reagan, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That sort of type of society. Republican doesn't necessarily mean that you're some mass shooting gun nut who praise be Jesus as you shoot someone in the face.
But the problem
doesn't
is
necessarily mean that.
That's how it's perceived, though. Someone says they're Republican, a lot of times they're a bad person. They don't care. They don't care about human rights. Yeah.
Which I mean, we'll definitely. I'm sure we'll do a whole episode on polarization because it's such a big thing, especially in American society at the moment. In every aspect of everything, you seem to be able to polarize people. Pineapple doesn't go on pizza. Yes, it does. I'll kill you.
No, it doesn't, by the way.
Mahalo. So yeah, you guys are good at that.
Oh, we're the best.
Yeah. They're taking our jobs.
Taking our jobs. All right, and then we can just want to bring up one more before we go, because this one is kind of not strange to me, but I don't know if it's worth an actual cancellation. So we have Ellen. All right, she's huge. She's enormous. She has been canceled for creating a toxic work environment. And that's just people, claims. That's all claims right now. People aren't allowed to talk to her. You're not supposed to look at her in the eye when you're backstage. She's not the person that she claimed that she plays on camera. Everyone has their on-camera persona.
I mean, of course they do, and then they have their real world persona.
And then they have the real life. So the way
which again comes down to this idea idealization.
Yeah. So from my understanding, though, a lot of these shows are taped, multiple shows in a day. They put in so many hours. I know at work, I get to a point where I don't want to talk to anybody. Uh, and you would think, between taping is their time. It's their time to decompress, to kind of relax a little bit, to get themselves together. And you don't want 20, 30 people coming up to you, yapping, bothering you. Now, I'm not saying that there's these claims actually happen that, you're not allowed to look at her in the eyes. You're not allowed to talk to her. But if it was, I think I can understand it, just for the fact that I get annoyed easily when it comes to people.
Yeah.
Easily. There's no question about that. If I have a busy day and I have a couple of minutes to just get back and breathe, a lot of times someone will come up to me with an issue, a question. I'm in a position of management. So there's always someone that has a question or a complaint or a problem. And I get angry. Someone comes out, if I have 5 minutes to just sit and breathe and someone comes up to me, more times than not, I'm a pretty angry guy. I just want you to get the hell away from me. Give me my 5 minutes. Wait till I'm back out there before you start, hounding me with questions.
As I've always sort of like, because we listen to the radio at work and stuff, you just have the radio on. And I always think you've got these people on the radio and their mood is so chipper all the time. They always seem like in such a bouncy, upbeat mood. And all I keep thinking is, how the hell do you keep that up for that 3 hours every single day? How do you do it?
It takes a lot. It does take a lot. You can't
be, no matter what's going on in your life, you have to be that upbeat for your show on TV, radio, whatever the hell it is. Yeah. And that must be so difficult as someone who's had a fair share of mental health, whatever. It's so hard sometimes to bring yourself up that amount of times, just so people see you as in a good mood. So amplify that by 1,000, because you've got to be on TV doing interviews with people, and then you've got to keep getting yourself up for that. I could understand it. Obviously, I don't know what the situation actually happened.
Exactly.
Assuming it's just something like that, I can totally understand it.
It's all speculation, and I can attest to that. I have to.
It doesn't make it right to the people that have been, if they've been offended.
Yeah.
Actively offended or actively pushed. It doesn't make it right. But at least these people are human. Ellen's a human. So you can't expect her to be squeaky clean. You can't expect her to be perfect. You can't expect her to just be this upbeat persona person every minute of every day.
And then going back to the beginning of when we were talking about, she is seen as a squeaky clean person.
For sure.
She's that good-hearted person that just wants to help people, that just wants to dance and laugh and all that. So a claim like this would absolutely bury someone like her.
And this is the interesting part, is because what we were sort of saying about how public perception is always so important, and saying one thing that's out of character really affects someone who's seen in a certain way, whereas it wouldn't affect someone who's, like Trump, been seen in a different way.
Yeah.
These are very minor allegations, really.
Yes.
It's this toxic work environment where you can't look at someone or can't engage with someone between takes. That's quite a minor allegation, really.
That's why I had her on the list here.
But because her perception is so good, it's that minor thing that could tank it. If you said Donald Trump had been saying people can't look at me between things, you'd be like, well, that's Donald Trump, isn't it?
Yeah, that's just a fact.
You wouldn't bat an eyelid at that. You wouldn't question it.
Yeah.
It's minor, but because of how high up she is on the pedestal, that little minor thing is enough to knock her off.
Mm-hmm.
As we're going to go away from this, I'm going to completely undermine absolutely everything we've said, because there's some people that I absolutely should be cancelled. Those fucking Paul brothers. Those absolute pricks, because they are popular for being douches.
Is that
One's
Jake
popular
and?
for being no, both of them.
But
Both of them
yeah,
are.
I don't know their names.
The one went to China. I don't know which one it was. The one and filmed the dead body, and I think
Yeah.
he sued over that.
Yeah.
But another part is I saw a different video of when he went to China, and what he did was he bought a Game Boy from like a woman at a market, went around the corner, videoed him like smashing it on the floor, and took it back and said, "This is broken. I want my money back." If any other multi-millionaire went and did that, they would be torched, because this is some poor woman living in a very impoverished country,
Yeah.
and he's trying to just make 50p, 50 cents probably. That's probably what it costs for them to sell that thing.
Yeah.
And she's just trying to make a living, maybe feed her children, who knows, because God knows what the situation is in China. That is a real fucking arsehole move.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. And then we
Name
have
another millionaire, multi-millionaire that could do that. Name a celebrity that could do that and get away with it. There isn't one.
no.
But these influencers have different rule set.
And that'll
And
be
then
for
you've got,
another episode.
and then yeah, and then you've got the other one, which is the one who claims to be a boxer.
The boxer
claims
who
to be a
won't
boxer.
the boxer who won't fight boxers.
Yeah. So he's had what, 3 pro fights. So he wants to fight someone who's had. Well, if he's going to fight a boxer, they're claiming that he'll fight the Fury brother, Nick the Young brother, not Nick Fury. That's from Marvel.
That's Marvel. Yeah. Tyson Fury.
No, his younger brother isn't.
His name escapes
because
me.
he's had something like 5 pro fights or something, and this poor guy's claiming thinks that he's had 3 pro fights. But who's he fought? He's fought a YouTuber, which is considered a pro fight,
a basketball player,
former basketball player, and a wrestler.
Yeah.
Who is, let's be honest, he's one of the worst strikers in the UFC.
I've seen his highlights, and I was looking for striking highlights, and they did not exist.
He never, ever would have made it in the UFC if it hadn't have been for the fact that he was so successful at Bellator.
Yeah.
And Bellator, you don't have to be the all-round fighter that you have to be in the UFC.
No.
UFC's fighters need to be good in absolutely everything.
They're freaks.
Like, you get these effectively boxers, but if your takedown defense is no good, a guy like Ben Askren would destroy you.
Well, like
take apart your weakness.
Yeah, the perfect example. Hoist Gracie.
But he fought him at a boxing match.
Yeah.
So normally Ben Askren, if he'd been fighting this Paul guy in an octagon, he'd known he was a better striker. He'd take him down and he'd submit him. And he probably would have lasted 30 seconds.
Submit, ground and pound.
But you're not allowed to do that. So you've got to go over your stand-up game, which Ben Askren, it's not in his wheelhouse.
No.
And he's a lot smaller. And he was out of shape. And there's calls that he might have been fixed.
Yeah, just to get a payday.
Fixed. Thing is, I'm not sure if it was fixed, because realistically, a guy Paul's size, who I believe has probably trained for multiple years, is going to beat a guy who is basically a complete novice boxer and would never ever make it as a boxer.
Yeah.
Because he's not a striker. He's a wrestler, world-class wrestler, a fantastic wrestler, Olympic medalist, I believe.
Which does nothing for you in the boxing ring.
Which is irrelevant. Exactly. It's irrelevant in a boxing ring.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think they should be cancelled.
You hear that? We need your help, guys.
Yeah. Let's get them gone. And no, I don't want to fight him if he sees this, because why the hell does everything... This isn't my dad's tougher than your dad. This is you're a fucking arsehole and you should be off TV or YouTube or any of it. And none of us ever want to hear from you again.
World's better off without you.
From me again, then I'll leave.
Yeah, me too. Fuck it. Why not?
Yeah, well, I'll have a couple of semi-professional tiddlywinks competitions against people who've got no hands first. But after that, once I've made my millions.
Yeah, I'm just going to start racing morbidly obese people.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That'll be
Sprints, yeah.
that'll be my claim to fame. Yeah.
Yeah. Just yeah. Technically, NFL players are morbidly obese in those terms, so don't race one of them.
Yeah. No, you know what? I take that back. I'll just stick to the video games.
I'm gonna start racing mice.
Mice?
I think I could outpace a mouse, even.
No, I think they'll destroy you.
Probably, I might not be able to. I have no idea how fast a mouse is actually.
They're pretty fast.
They're pretty quick for their size,
Yeah.
relative. Whereas
Yeah.
I'm not.
They're they're not predators. They're prey. They need,
Yeah, they
they
got to
don't
have that speed.
They have speed. Yeah.
Got to have that speed. That's the bit we're gonna get cancelled for. Me saying that I'm gonna outclass a mouse.
Oh, I know. We're gonna have all these like anti-mouse hate groups on us.
Yeah. Hashtag vegan cat.
They're coming for us. Be ready.
Well, cats don't eat mice, they're vegans.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I totally support that.
To each their own.
Feeding a carnivore veg. It's really supportful.
All right, that's all for this time. This has been Yankee and the Brit. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, drop your comments down below. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, let us know. We'll be sure to address them. Our next episode is going to be on the comparison of the education system between the British and American people and why the British are said to be more intelligent than their American counterparts.
Definitely are.
Yeah, we'll eat a spotted dick, man. Right. So again, thanks for watching, everyone. We really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next time.